Welcome back to the Be Ruthless Show. I'm your host, Sam Ruth, and joining me today is the one and only Tony Lynch. I'm excited to bring you this episode. He's an international best-selling author, host of Memories of Us, grieving father, changing the conversation in the grief world in Northern Colorado. And what am I missing? What else?
I think you hit the nail on the head. One thing, I'm the founder of the Global Grief Network, which is a network for grief workers, mental health practitioners, and it's a place where where friends become family. It's a place where we as grief workers can come together, collaborate, and support each other.
I have already, in a very short week, 10 days of being there, connected with amazing people. Uh, One I'm meeting in person, one I'm having on the show. It's wonderful to find other people as
Yes,
passionate as we are. I feel like you're the male version of me out here in this world having the same conversations, trying to break stigmas.
yes, yes, and that is true. It is time that we normalize the conversations around grief and mental health, um, and begin the healing process in these communities because they desperately need us just like we need them. When our communities heal, we thrive.
And every community needs us, right?
Yes,
That
yes,
we can do so much here. We're both doing things virtually because people are struggling everywhere.
yes.
Tell us a little bit about your story and how you walked this road.
Okay. So I got into this work. Well, let me just start from the beginning. 7 years ago, um, I experienced the loss of a child, my son. He was 8 years old. And 2 years after that, as a matter of fact, he passed away June 18th. And at that time, it was 7 days right before Father's Day. I was devastated. My son passed away right before Father's Day. My birthday is pretty much 2 months behind that. So, needless to say, that year was not a good year. Um, 2 years after that, 2 years, 1 month, and 7 days after that, my mother passed away. So, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Um, as a male, we've always been taught to suppress our emotions, to man up, to not cry, and things like that. And so it was the urge of not wanting to follow that blueprint, and then the reality of it. I broke down. I cried in silence. Everything in my world had changed. Both my parents are gone, my younger brother is gone. So there was a reality that I had to face at that time, and it was I am the last of my bloodline. I am the last male, the oldest and last male of my family. When I'm gone, there's no one else. My world became a big place, right? I can no longer hide. Um, and when when I started grieving process, I didn't even know what grief was. I didn't know what grieving was, to say the least. But the process looked totally different from what people were telling me. They were like, "Oh, you got to go through this. You're going to go through this, this, and this." Yeah, I went through that, but it looked totally different. I made bad decisions. I lost everything. Almost took my own life, and things like that. And one day, as a matter of fact, the day that, at the end of me planning out my suicide is when everything started to open up. The same exact night, I had drove out of town and everything because I didn't want anybody to know what I was doing. Um, for one, that, and then I didn't want anyone to find me. I wanted to be alone. I isolated so bad. I just wanted to be alone. And the night that I had made the decision to take my life, I was sitting in the middle of the desert out in Utah, and I was 2 seconds away, and there was this voice that screamed out to me, and I thought somebody had followed me. So I threw the gun in the front seat of my car, and I'm looking up. I got the light on. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm looking around. I'm going, "Who is out here? Who is out here?" And there was nobody out there. And as crazy as it sounds, there was a voice inside my head that said, "Hey, no, I want to show you something." And it began to take me along this journey on my life. And up until that moment. And it said, look, read the book of Tony right now. I want read this. There's something in there that you're missing. And all of these things started making sense to me. And I didn't understand what it was. Because remember, I didn't even know what grief or grieving was. So I sat there for another hour or so, finally got in the vehicle and drove back here to Colorado. And I got back and there was something inside of me in my heart that just would not let me go. And on one end, I'm ready to run. I am, I don't know. I just want to run. I just want to get away. But where am I going? I have no more family, you know. Um, and the friends that I had, most of them had left during that time. So I'm like, well, I have a handful of friends. But then I started thinking, I was like, well, they all have families. I don't want to be a burden to them. And as the weeks went on, things just started clicking. And I told myself, I said, I need to go get help. And I think that's where this road really began to where I started thinking to myself, like, we as men need a space for ourselves to be able to talk. I know there has to be more men out there like me. And so I kept looking for support because I said, if I do not get support, if I do not get the help, I am going to take my life. There's no doubt about it. The next time I do this, I'm done. I'm going to be done. And I went to a few support groups, and the reality of it was is there was no men. So I started asking people, where are the men at? Oh, they used to come, but they're not here anymore. I'm like, why not? Then it dawned on me, we're in a room full of women. Men don't talk around women. So I thought to myself, like, well, is there any men's group? No, there's no men's group. Okay, well, I wanna create a space for us, to where we could come and be vulnerable and talk. Now, it sounds easy. That was not the reality of it. That was not the reality of it. It was hard. It was so hard. And I wanted to give up on so many times, and I'm glad that I didn't. Um, so that's when I started. Let's see, it was probably about 6 or 7 months after that incident is where I started my nonprofit, Memories of Us. And I've been dedicated to that path ever since then. I became a podcaster. And it just became a place where men did more than just be vulnerable. It created a brotherhood. And to be honest with you, I started it because I wanted to learn. I wanted to be around other men like myself, so I could figure out what they did. So maybe I can apply it to me, right? But that again, I was wrong. My path was so individual that it had its own set of lessons. And then the men that was coming to the group was relying on me for the answers. And to be honest with you, I didn't have all the answers. I put some stuff together, and it began to make sense. And over a period of time, I revised on it, and then I started getting my certification. I was like, "Oh, this makes sense." Recovery, right? Why recovery? Because most men, when we're going through something traumatic, we get into things to self medicate. That made sense to me, right? Suicide prevention. Why? Because I was that guy that almost took my life, and I knew that that was part of the process. And then I got my grief coaching license, and I was going, okay, like that's going to help solidify everything. But then I was missing a major component: mental health. No one ever talks about mental health. Why mental health? Because that was all part of the grieving process. I had to heal these different parts of myself to become the man that I am now. And during that process, and after that process, every door that you can imagine opened up, and I began to meet other people and listen to their stories. And I was going, you know what? This is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. I don't know why, but I'm supposed to do it. And I've stayed that course ever since then. And I've been doing it now for, let's see, my son passed away 7 years ago, and I got into this work 4 years ago and been going strong ever since then. I've not only that I start that nonprofit and start my podcast, but I also started another charitable organization, which is the Global Grief Network, because I wanted to be around other grief workers like myself, because people don't talk about the grief workers, right? We're so busy helping others find their path of healing in their journey, and then we neglect ourselves. So that was a great avenue for us to have, to come together, not only um, to collaborate, but we spoke the same languages. We all spoke the same languages, and I thought that was a beautiful thing. And for the first time in my life, I could say everything that I've done has not been about me. It's been about helping and serving other people. And yeah, I stayed true to that. Stayed true to that. And like you said, making noise. People need to talk. We need places where we can talk and feel comfortable and be supported. So I wanted to break the stigma about the idea of what men actually go through, and and make a lot of noise and say, hey, do you see us over here? We're human beings as well. No longer should we have to neglect our emotional health to satisfy other people, because that is what's going to make us better for you, in the community, for our children, for our women, for our family, and things like that. So I see the benefits in it. I see the benefits in when a man is truly healed. I see the effects that it has, and I want more of that for more people.
And it affects men in a way I'll never know, but
Right.
I know that it starts young. Whether it's my widow's clients'
Hmm.
children, they already at a young age have learned, conditioned, men don't
Hmm.
cry. Um, Talking about your feelings is a sign of weakness,
Hmm.
whereas we know it's a sign of strength. It's the path to healing. Keeping it in is so unhealthy. But people are not having these conversations, finding us, knowing where to look. And even when they do, I hear too often I called, 10 people and nobody called me back.
Right.
Where, for outside of Colorado, where should parents start with young men so that we can break the habit early?
Well, when women women need to stop teaching their men that it's not okay to cry, that it's not okay to feel, because that's where I learned it from. I learned that from the women in my family, because the men in my family didn't talk about it. Right? I remember when I was 6 years old, I was molested, and the first thing I wanted to do, I told someone, and no one believed me. Believe your child when they tell you that something has happened, because as soon as you blow them off, what it does to that young man, it tells them that no, regardless of what happens to you, no one's going to believe you, right? So they internalize it. And then now, as we start to go from young men to teenagers to grown men, we carry all of that stuff with us. No matter what happens to us, we won't say anything, because we've been taught that no one cares. No one wants to hear what happens to us, because they're not going to believe us anyway. So now you see the men in your life begin to act out and begin to manifest itself, right? In anger and things like that. That's why young men are more prone to going to jail, right? Because they're acting out. They have no outlet. This is what we've been taught. And after a while, it's like I'd rather go to jail and be around other men like myself. That way, I don't have to put up this space. This is who I'm going to be. They rather be in jail than to be around other people. They tend to get into self medicating, because no one wants to live in a world where it's full of pain. No man wants to do that. That's why you find them. You find them. Drug addicts, alcoholics, things like that. That's the reason why they don't want to deal with the reality that they're in. A lot of men that you see that are homeless, they're homeless because they don't know how to be around anyone. They carry around all of this stuff in their heart, and on their shoulders and things like that, that being homeless is just one less element that they have to deal with. They rather be homeless than and deal with that reality than to deal with the true reality. Because when I'm homeless, no one knows where I'm at. I can wander around. I can, I don't have any responsibility because this is the results of it. This is how it manifests itself. When men commit suicide, we always wonder, why are men taking their lives at a higher rate? That is the reason. Men do not know how to deal with the pain that we've gone through, and it over a period of time, it just piles up. So, and then when they leave us behind and everything, we go, I wish they would have talked and things like that. Well, why didn't you open up the doors for us to talk? Why didn't you allow the space, so I could tell you what was going on? Why did you not believe me when I told you that I was molested? Why did you not believe me when I told you that this individual did this one to me? It's a whole thing that you have to factor in. So when we talk about raising young men, you have to look at young men and go, okay, I need to start paying more attention to you. It starts when we're younger. So whatever you do to us when we're younger, it's going to manifest itself when it's older. If you don't open up a space for us to trust you, then we're not going to trust you. We're going to keep it to ourselves. And then when we make the decision to take our lives, we go, you should have just listened to me. But since now I can't trust you, then don't be surprised when this is happening.
And even healthy addictions,
Mm-hmm.
healthier working. There's an escape uh, that men and women, people, but are programmed. You will see so many
Mm-hmm.
men work and think that that's providing and doing their responsibility, but they're not talking to anybody about what's going on inside. It's another addiction showing itself in a different way. We are not having the conversation. So
Right.
starting at home, I love that. Even just asking questions.
Yes. Yes. You have to ask the questions. If you see your man working, um, so my addiction was working out, and I was so slick about mine that I never went to a gym. My gym was in my garage. I had my whole setup in the garage. I can just work out there, right? I did that way. I didn't have to be bothered with anyone or anything like that. The problem with that is idle hands is the devil's playground. So at that time, I was a big dude. I had just reached one of my goals of being 300 pounds. Um, and the pain that I was in, I told myself one day, I just got done working out with a friend of mine. He had just left. And I went back in there and I put close to 600 pounds on the bar. And I told myself, if I get this up and it lands on me, it's going to kill me. And I did. And it fell on my chest. And I wanted to roll it back on my neck. It breaks my neck. No one's here. No one is paying attention to me, right? Um, but then there's a sense of survival that kicked in, and I ended up picking it back up and putting it back on the bar. And I told myself, this is not good. I've just now found another way to end my life. This is not good. Um, so yes, when men dive into work and things like that is because they're trying to they're spending a lot of time away from you. They're spending a lot of time away from their family and friends. They don't want to be bothered, right? Because at some point they feel as if they can't talk to you. And when we feel that we can't talk to you, we isolate. That's another form of isolation, right? And men and women do it. And here's the one thing that I want women to understand. There's so many similarities in how we react to these things that we miss it. We miss it. We focus on the things that stand out to us. We don't focus on the things that relates to us, right? You know what I'm saying? Because if we focused on the things that relate to us, then we can start having a conversation. What is this? Wow, that's just like me, right? That means that now you have to face this thing head on because now I see what you're doing.
It takes someone saying, I'm not okay today, For you to say me too.
Yep. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to hurt, you know. But it takes someone having empathy as well, right? Someone who has walked that path that can look at the next person and go, "Man, I see you, ma'am. I see you, little kids. I see you." Right? The one thing with children than with adults is that if you can catch it while it's early, you can correct that. You can get them on a path of healing. When you're dealing with adults, there's a process that you have to go through. And a lot of times people don't know that the process is painful. Healing is painful and and it takes time. It's not overnight. So a lot of people drop out before they start the process. They want an overnight fix. No one wants to go around hurting, right? So if you can have patience, it takes a lot of patience with individuals, a lot of understanding. I I catch a lot of the men when they're ready to give up. Man, this is a lot of work. Yes, you have to think about it. No matter how old you are, you can be in your 30s, you can be in your 40s or your 50s. You have that many years of all of these things piling up, and you've only asked for help once. So no, it's going to be a process because now we have to figure out where it all began and then start from there and begin to heal those things in order for you to be, I like to say, whole.
And anyone who struggles, male or female, but especially male, it's a process, it's a practice. Like you
Hmm.
said, I have clients highly invested, came to me voluntarily. I am a man, I want to work on communication and talking more with family, with certain people. That's their goal. That doesn't mean it's easy.
No.
The process is bumpy. There's times they, don't know what to do and want to walk out, want to
Hmm.
give up. And it's about finding the ways, accepting that what is easy for me is so, so difficult for someone else.
Right.
And if
Yes.
I had to go, join the basketball team, there would be a lot of practice free. It's no different. We have to practice the communication just like we would practice any other skill. And
Yes.
and that's what we're not telling people. We're not telling, and that we're here to do it with you. You don't have to do it alone. We're not sending you out there without a coach,
Yeah.
without a
Yeah.
team.
And that's what it is because a lot of times when people make that decision to start to get the help to start to learn these tools and everything, they've been battling alone their whole entire time, right? So it's easy to revert back to that when things get hard. No, I don't want to deal with that. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go back into my shell because it's safe for me. Regardless of what it looks like, we all look for a safe environment, right? We all want a safe environment. That's why we walk away from a lot of these things. This is painful. I have to protect myself. So the only way that I know how to do that is I have to go back into this little area over here. So and so what I've done, and you can add to it if you want. What I've done is that I've laid out a series of things. Like you want to learn how to communicate in your grieving process, right? So we do a program on that, communication while you're grieving, right? How to communicate with your loved ones, how to communicate with your friends, how to communicate with your job and things like that while you're hurting. Because if I do not know, I don't know how to help you. So we lay those through, and that's just one of the tools, right? Learning how to communicate throughout these things, and then relationships, right? You know what I'm saying? If you're in a relationship with someone, you have to know how to be in that relationship and how to accept each other in that grieving process, male and female both. You have to learn what grief actually is and how it gets trapped in your body, how it affects you, and things like that. Movement. So we add in different elements along the way, to help move this through your body. Um, so many things that you can just lay out to begin that process to make it fun and interesting, right? Because if you can sit in the classroom and you can have these support groups and everything, and you can share, but that doesn't mean that you're getting anything out of it. So those groups they're beneficial, but you have to be learning something as you're going. You have to make it interesting. If you want these people to engage with you, make it interesting. Take your experience and then put it in a way to where it's universal, and then you can apply it. You can put it in a way to where you can apply it to almost anybody's life during that process. You just got to make it interesting. You got to make it. You got to. If you're dealing with men, you have to make it masculine, right? You know what I'm saying? You have to make it masculine. So I often do things like when I'm with the men, I go, "Hey, you guys want to go fishing? You want to go bowling? You want to go hiking? You want to go camping?" And it sounds like a retreat in the same sense, right? And you tell a man, "Hey, you want to go fishing?" Most men will be like, "Yeah, man, let's go fishing." While you're out there, you can start up a conversation because now I have you in a comfortable environment doing something that we both enjoy. So I can relate the conversation around that trip, going camping. There's nothing more masculine for a man than to go camping out there in the woods and everything, right? But then you get a bunch of men out there, and then you have segments where we come together and we can sit around the campfire and cook and talk and communicate and connect, right? So all of those different things. When I'm working with women, you want to read a book, I'm very specific about the books that I read, or bring to the table. I make sure that it has something in there that's going to relate to what we're doing, right? So people have to relate to the process that they have to go through if you don't want them to walk out, you know. And I think it builds an element of trust with the individual that's doing it, that's putting themselves out there, because deep down inside we want to be heard and we want to trust the people that we're with. We want to know that you understand what I'm going through. And then a lot of times when people seek therapy and things like that, they walk away from it because the person that's doing the psychiatrist or the therapist and things like that don't have that lived experience. They have book experience, but we both know that book experience is not, it doesn't come anywhere close to lived experience, anywhere close, right? So they want to know that you understand what I'm going through. How do you know what I'm going through? Well, and that's where those barriers are being broken down. We need to make the noise.
And you said it. You said connecting
Hmm.
and finding that compassionate person, right? Like, to go to a school reference, there can be 5 different math teachers. I'm going to learn better from one style than another. And
Exactly.
it's the same thing. There are people who communicate better with men than women. In the practicing game of communication, we have to give people the patience and the space to
Hmm.
get there. It doesn't happen overnight. So if it is workable in a system, they have to have that safe audience, that person who will respond, who will hear, who isn't judging. So to men listening, to moms with teenage boys, to young men listening, you are allowed to change that teacher if it's not the right fit.
Right.
That
Right.
is that you're not going to learn anything if you're spending time with somebody that you are not enjoying being there with. If it feels like torture, it's not the right match.
Exactly. And I don't take anything away from those individuals that, everybody has their own style of what they bring to the table. So I never fault them. Whatever works for the person or the people that you're sitting with. If it works for them, keep it that way, right? I have more of a universal approach, right? So the people that I'm around, I want to relate to them, and I understand that if I can adjust what I'm doing with this individual, I'm gonna have a bigger effect. They're gonna want to come back to the next group. They're gonna want to attend that seminar because they want to hear what you're saying and things like that. I want to relate to them on a level to where not only is it intimate, but and I love this word, but I'm intruding on you. I'm intruding on your grief. I'm going to dive in there with you, right? I would, and that's the reason why I do it, because I'm going to intrude on your grief, because I want you to know that I'm here in the mud with you, you know. And it's about to get very, very personal. It's about to get very personal.
And that's why the match is important, right? It is our job as the coach, leader, teacher to adapt to whoever we're working with.
Exactly.
I want them I want them to know they have a vote too, because
Yes.
the process will be less painful with the right match.
Yes. Yes. And that is a huge thing, and I think that's what makes this work enjoyable for me, because when you've walked this path and now you can look at it from a different point of view, you can look at it and go, wow, you know what? If I did this right here, that would have a bigger impact on the group that I'm with over here, you know, and you'd be able to reach so many more people. And like you said, making noise, letting people know that, hey, we're changing everything right now. We're changing, we're opening up the conversations. We're going to normalize the conversation around grief and trauma. Um, and we're here to help you walk through this. But in order to do it, I need you to admit to me that you need the help. Because once you do that, I know that I am not forcing you to take these steps. You're more than willing to step into it with me. Now, my job is to walk with you every step of the way. In your darkest moments, in those moments where you feel that you can't get up, I'm gonna sit with you, because I can't help you get up, but I will be there to be that shoulder when you need to stand up. I'm going to do all of that, and that is my commitment to those individuals. I'm there. I'm here to let you know that you're not crazy. What
Right.
you're feeling is what you're feeling is real. You're not crazy, and that, yes, your reality has changed. We just have to figure out how much, and then adjust ourselves to the new reality, because everything is going to be different. Those things that you thought that was impossible are now possible. Like, and I keep going back to this. When I lost my son, I never thought in a million years that I would lose a child, right? When it happened, the reality of it was is that I wasn't exempt from it. This does happen. These things happen. And since that time, I can tell you, I've met other men that have gone through a lot worse than me. I met a guy who lost two of his sons to suicide. I met another guy who lost three of his children back to back. Right? His son was killed. As a matter of fact, here's how crazy it was. His son was killed in a car accident. His youngest son was killed in a car accident. His oldest son was shot, and his daughter was killed in a car accident a month after each other. So he lost his whole family, and then his wife divorced him and left him to deal with all of this because she didn't know how to deal with it, right? So there was all of those different things that came in. My neighbor a long time ago lost both of their children 7 years apart. 7 years apart, both of them, to unknown causes. And I can relate to that because my son, when he passed away, his death was ruled unknown. So I know what it's like to walk around with an open wound, wishing that you had some sort of answers, um, and not having it. Right. So that's his own set of hurt right there. You want so bad to be like, somebody tell me something, right? Um, but sometimes those answers don't come.
And we can drive ourselves crazy along the way, right? I
Exactly.
didn't I didn't just talk to one doctor for a second opinion. No, I had to talk to 3 cardiologists because
Hmm.
one wasn't educated. I didn't trust the information enough. I
Right.
had to, what if myself. But we go through these things, and you said it. The reason it's so important to connect, so we know we're not alone, so we know we're not crazy. I think I have that on my website. You're
Yes.
not crazy. We do. Our sleep changes,
Oh yeah.
everything changes. Things that are simple for other people can become difficult. And so communication,
Mm-hmm.
which might be easier for women, not necessarily easy for all, is even harder at a time when so much is weighing on people. So, how can people reach you? Do they have to actually say the words help? How does entering your community work? Because that first step
Mm-hmm.
is the biggest.
Right, right. And when you're looking for a community, you got to find a community that works for you. Not every community is for you, right? A friend of mine told me a long time ago, you have to find your tribe. You have to find your tribe. You have to be around people that you can relate to, because for one, if you can't relate to the people in that group or anything like that, you're more susceptible to walk away. So having different options and trying them out is, it's not a one size fit all. And I tell people that come to my group, like, if what I do don't work for you, I have other resources that may be a better fit for you. I'm okay with that, as long as you're getting the support and the help that you need. I am okay with not being a good fit for you. Let's find what works for you. So you have to find your tribe, and it goes both ways for men and women. When you're inside of these things, there's a few ways that you're going to find out if it works for you. The does the What sort of language do they speak? Right? Are they is it educational? Are you looking for that? Right? But not only that, the people that are in that group, are those people talking to you in a way to where it's um it's relatable to your love language, because we do have different languages, right? And so in order for you to feel comfortable in there, you got to be around people that speak to your love language as well, right? So you those things do go in the factor, and when you get into that place because you feel it in your heart. Like, you can come and join one of my virtual groups, on Facebook or anything like that. We're zooming it, or yeah, we're zooming it. So if you come there and be like, oh man, this is pretty cool, and if you come there and be like, oh, this is not for me, let me help you find out what works for you. Let me help you find what works for you. I got many people that might be a better fit for you than this. I'm not My ego is not a I don't have a big ego. I am humble enough to go, I got someone else. I am not the best fit for you.
I say that any episode, I'm saying to people, you can reach out, even if it's just for information. I let them
Hmm.
know you don't have to work with me, right? Like, you and I are like, we want people to get what they're looking for. If that's not
Exactly.
with us, we're going to help them find it. And
Exactly.
while I believe that's how everyone in our profession and field should operate, it's really not.
No.
My clients say to me, going back years, that I go above and beyond, or I'm different than others, and this really does make us the exception. And
Yes.
so, even if you just can't find anywhere else to go and you don't want to work with either of us, we'll still help you find whatever it is that you need.
Yeah.
We're the ones telling the world that we need more support, that we're the invisible populations, that people need to be heard. So,
Hmm.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me when I have somebody call and say they can't find anything in person, or there's
Yeah.
something and it doesn't start for 7 weeks.
Yes.
So we don't want you waiting for that. Reach out to us and we can help you in between find whatever it is. How do they find you in your groups?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. I put a lot of information on Facebook, which is, you just go to Memories of Us, Ltd, Grief Support for Men. You can find me on LinkedIn, which is just Tony Lynch. You can find me on Instagram, Men's Grief Support. You can go to my website, which is www.memoriesofus.org. Um, and then you can also, if you're looking for people to connect with, my podcast. A lot of the members of my Global Grief Network, I have on my show. They tell about what they do. They tell about their experiences and things like that, which is a great way to connect with them, and see what they're doing. You never know what you may find. So we have a lot of benefits, and the YouTube channel is, Grief. Let's talk about it. podcasts. We do live interviews, which is panel discussions, right? We take topics, we dive into them, and it's to educate you, is to give you something, give you the start of some tools that you can carry around with you as well. Um, so yeah, that's the easiest way to get in contact with me. Or now, if you are in Northern Colorado, if you're in Fort Collins, September 5th, I'm opening up an office space down there, and we will start doing in-person groups. We're going to have I do men's groups, and we're going to open up the doors for to do in-person women's groups as well. And if I can connect with the right people, we're going to do something for the children. So we want something for everyone, because we don't want to leave anyone out. So September 5th, be looking out for it. You guys will see the notifications on social media, or you can email me at tolynch46@gmail.com. Let me know that you're interested, and I can give you a schedule. You can also you can call me 970-599-9917. I'm available 24 hours a day. If I don't answer the phone, leave me a voicemail, and I get right back to you. And we can get you set up. We can get you in with some appointments. And again, if you are a grief worker and you're looking for a place to call home, the Global Grief Network is a place where friends become family. It's an opportunity for us to collaborate with one another, and it's also a place to where we can be supported. We can test out new master classes that we have coming on. We can get that input, but it's a place where we talk, and feel comfortable with ourselves.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's wonderful. I have never found so many people with the same passion
you're
in
right.
one
All right.
place, right? Like usually it's very, very rare. And my world knows I'm extremely picky and selective
Mm-hmm.
about who I'll refer to. I don't recommend or point people in a direction I haven't tried or I wouldn't use myself. You're giving out your phone number the same way I do. Like, problems don't happen during business hours. People need help when they need it, and you're
Exactly.
available. And that's so rare, but so necessary in this culture. And that's why together we will be unstoppable Northern Colorado, changing it out here. The
Yes.
world of mental health and grief needs to change everywhere. But it is its own little breed out here in Colorado. The Midwest has a ways to go, but it's better. And
Yeah.
so I am excited to be meeting others in an area saying we got to do something here as well. Virtual
Yes.
is great, but people need a place to go.
Yes. Well, people, as we understand that in person, there's a totally different connection that comes from that. I can see you, you can see me, I can feel your energy, right? And my goal is, like you said, not only am I going to make a lot of noise, but I want to connect with these individuals out here. So I've been doing so much work online, to build up that that force field right there. Now it's time to bring it and to the areas where we actually are our stomping grounds. And I want to connect with these individuals. I want to bring us together and go, we together, we can make a difference. No longer hide it in the shadows. We belong on the front lines, because without us, our communities are going to fall, right? So why not put us where we can make the most difference?
If you are a teacher, if you are a first responder, if you are open to connecting with people in the mental health field and the grief field, so many agencies are not. So many doors are shut in both of our faces. But if
Mm-hmm.
you are interested in this conversation, please reach out to either of us, because this is the work that we do. And I know someone somewhere runs their place differently and is open to working together. So wherever that is, the more of us having these conversations together, the louder we become. You're making as much noise as I am. Wednesdays, National Grief Awareness Day. About 5 people know about it.
Yes,
We're
yes,
two of them.
yes. And I'm gonna make it real easy for the individuals out here in Northern Colorado. I am not asking you for money. I am asking you for your expertise. I will provide the space if you're willing to come out there and be a part of what we have going on and help us get our communities to start the healing. I'm not asking, I'm not, I don't want your money. I just want you to come and occupy the space and bring your expertise to the table. Let's work together. Let's work together. Let's build something out here. Let's make a difference. Let's make some noise. Let's let people know that we are here and we are here for you. Let's
And
do it.
it is okay. It
And
is
it's
okay for you
okay.
to need us.
Yes, and it's okay. It's look, I want to create an environment to where this is normalized. You know, um, and the only thing I ask is that you come with the same passion to want to make a difference. That's the only thing I ask. Whether if it's in the mental health, recovery, grief work, trauma, well, helping people in their trauma, I'll provide the space for you. I want to provide the space for you. I'm just asking that you come with that passion and that knowledge and a drive to want to make a difference.
And the way we met, just to let everybody know, I saw the Global Grief Conference
Oh yes.
network and decided that I wasn't going to follow the rules and reach out to who you said I should contact. I wanted to reach out to the head. Like, I wanted to connect with you. We have some stuff to talk about.
Yes.
And you're 15 minutes away. And we might think that our voices aren't heard. We might think, oh, he'll never respond. I'll just follow the instructions. But when you have the passion that we do and the fire that we do to make that difference, doing those things, it's not so crazy. And amazing things happen. If
Exactly.
you tune in Wednesday for my solo episode, because there will be announcements about things that we're collaborating on that will be in Northern Colorado, and we can take that on the road. We can be a traveling team.
There we go. I'm good with that. I am definitely good with that. And I'm glad that you brought that up as well. So everybody knows, those that have followed me and have seen some of the things I do. I've hosted two global grief conferences the last couple of years. It always occurs at the same time. So it's an annual thing now. It's always at the last weekend of April. We've done them virtually the last 2 years. Exciting news. We're doing it in person in 2024, and we're doing it in Vegas. So if you guys get the chance to come on out to Vegas, meet these grief workers in person, be a part of the events that we have going on. If you're a grief worker, you want to be a part of it, reach out. Right? Yes, it's a paid event this time because we're going the whole nine. We got entertainment, we got booths, we have vendors, we have master classes that are going to be going on. So we have something for everyone. It's going to be 3 days. You guys are going to see live podcasts. You guys are going to be able to be a part of something that has never been done before, and it's going to be freaking amazing. And also, just one more thing, and I'm sorry, but I do have a book out. It's called Relentless. I co-authored a book that is now an international bestseller on Amazon. Look it up, Relentless: Overcoming Stories of Overcoming Adversities and things like that. I co-authored with 31 different authors, and it's such an amazing book. So pick up your copy. It's an ebook right now. If you guys don't want to pick up the ebook, I will have the physical copies coming soon. You guys can reach out to me. I'll get your signed book out there to you. And yeah, we still making a difference. One person at a time, one heart at a time.
Am I forgetting anything? Is there anything you want to mention that I haven't covered?
No, I think we covered everything almost. Amazing conversation. Love being on the show. Love talking with you. But yeah, you guys keep your eyes out as well, because Samantha and I, we have a lot of great things coming your way. A lot of great things. Yes, Vegas in April. Thank you, Kimberly. Vegas in April. It's going to be amazing. We got some live entertainment. We're pulling out all the stops for our workers and the people who are attending.
memoriesofus.org. We'll put all the links and comments for the book, for all the places to connect. Thank you for everything you're doing, for the places you're providing, the contacts. We're going to be like our own little Rolodex of
Yes.
grief services. And I love that you have the vision. So thank you for your time, for your story. Any last words for everyone listening?
Um, Please remember, if you're struggling, you're not alone. There's people out here who want to help, and we're here for you. So don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to refer a friend if you see them struggling. You know, we are here for you. We're willing to walk with you every step of the way, because it's not all it's not all sunshines and rainbows. Sometimes you got to have people like Samantha and ourselves that will walk with you in the mud, and that's what we're doing. We're walking with you in the mud until you're strong enough to come out of it. So yeah,
I love that the book is called Relentless. This show has ruthless in it. We're disrupting and making noise, all these negative perceived things, including grief.
exactly.
We're changing the way people see my book coming out is redefining ruthless. We're changing it all. So thank you again. Thank you, everyone listening. Tune in Wednesday for the big announcements, National Grief Awareness Day. And
Yeah.
thank you again, Tony. And until next time, always be ruthless.
Thank you.